If you're feeling frustrated, maybe things feel a bit harder, January was slow for you, you feel like maybe what worked really well has slightly shifted, I just want to say you are not broken. It's that the model has changed. And inside this episode, I am going to tell you exactly why the model has changed and what to do instead. And be sure to stick around because the fourth thing I share is the game changer to your business. And I don't want you to miss it. Welcome back to the Best Damn Coach podcast. Or if this is your first time ever listening, welcome. I'm so excited you're here. If you are a weekly listener, I'm just always honored that you're tuning in. Either way, I just want to invite you to make sure you're hitting the subscribe button. As updates become more available, I'm noticing more and more people struggling with finding their favorite podcast. If you hit that subscribe, you're guaranteed to be reminded of episodes that come through so you can have me in your ears, helping you stay consistent and building momentum inside your coaching practice. Today, we're talking about the M word, marketing. I really was unfamiliar with that word. I didn't really understand this notion of marketing when I first stood out. I'd heard it, but I really didn't know what marketing meant as it applied to running a coaching business. Marketing in general is how you advertise yourself, how you put yourself out into the world in order to attract clients into your world so that you can serve them, coach them up and create massive transformation, which I know is why you're here. Today, though, I know that some of you might be feeling like what you used to do to market yourself or your marketing game plan was more effective before. Maybe you feel like things are slower. It feels quote unquote harder. Those are some of the things that I've heard from clients, newer clients that are coming into our world. And today I want to talk about why your marketing isn't broken, but that the model has changed. And here's how it works now. I I want to be transparent that I actually don't think you're entirely wrong. It might be true. I think there is some truth to it. I don't want to just be like, no, 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 it's just you or it's just a mindset. I don't think that's accurate. And the reason you hear kind of this woven through so many of my conversations is because I believe it is my obligation to help you think more innovatively, think about how marketing and the world around us has changed because I want you to be a coach that like does this for the long game. Some interesting statistics that I want to share with you are that 82% of coaches will leave the industry after the second year. And one of the reason I believe, or the main reason I believe this happens is because we are great. We're brilliant coaches. We want to make massive transformation. But the area we kind of suck at is the marketing space. I know this was true for me. And so we have to fall in love with understanding how to market, not just give our power away and give it to other people or just hire other people to do it or just say, I just want to focus on coaching and pretend to be a profitable coach. Those are not things that are going to help you last. The other interesting thing about this stat, it's actually not much different than entrepreneurship in general. 78% of people will leave the entrepreneurial space by third year. And so I don't want to say like, ooh, coaching's its own beast. No, it's kind of like just entrepreneurship in general. And that is that it does take grit and stick to itiveness and being, I think, around people like myself that are have been doing it a while and can share some things and can share some honest truths and also some things that are working. Because I feel like you would be a disservice if you're just trying to do what you've always done because that era is over and it's also not new. Like things come in cycles. I think I like when I was teaching, the way we wrote and developed curriculum was one way in my year 1 and 2 of teaching. And then new ways came in, things shifted, the classroom environment shifted, and then new cycles came back. Guess what? That same kind of idea, but just called something different, came back around year 9. And we are in a 9-year, for me, a 9-year cycle is kind of ending. And this is my 9th year of business. And so I'm like, oh yeah, of course, everything happens in cycles. This isn't new. This isn't to be scary. It's just for you to take power in the conversation and move ahead and understand like the model has changed and how can we be mindful of it. I just wrapped up my premium client accelerator, our first beta cohort of it. It's gone so well. I'm excited to share that this is going to be available to you soon in a different way. But one of the things I did at the beginning of the container is I interviewed or asked my clients to answer a simple question, and that was, how quickly do you expect a lead to turn into a client? 90% of them responded with this, within 24 to 48 hours. I'm sharing this because in 24 to 48 hours, they expect their client to go from stranger to paying client. And when that doesn't happen, when people download your free thing and then they go through your nurture sequence and they're not responding, you think that you're doing something wrong. But here's really what I need you to hear is like your marketing isn't broken. The model has changed. I think there is this idea that there's this old linear model. It's funnel-ish, right? They discover you, they download your free resource. There's a nurture sequence that leads them to a sales call and then client. And I'm not suggesting those things don't work. It's that today I'm going to explain why it's different now and what you can do instead so that you can elevate and do things that are actually creating conversations. And I think once you understand the shift, everything kind of changes. I was taught this very linear funnel. I don't want to call it a fantasy, but it kind of was. You know, that exactly as I shared. Somebody finds you, and then they, you know, get them into a lead magnet, put like a no-brainer offer in front of them, like, or an opportunity to chat with you, and then book them into your coaching roster. And I can tell you that if I look back, that seldomly happens. But it was kind of this promise, and coaches would even teach me this, that you build this perfect funnel, write the most perfect emails, and clients will flow in like clockwork. It's kind of this like set it and forget it era. Even this notion of passive income when it reared its head, and it even is right now, because there was like, just build this digital products and you're going to be a millionaire and you just don't have to do anything. And it's inaccurate. And so I just want to have realistic expectations around what that is. I think the reality now is that people are absolutely finding you. And that could be from a multitude of ways. They are downloading your lead magnet, but they may never be opening your emails consistently because there's a lot of noise. They are maybe going through that entire nurture sequence and then potentially disappearing, or they're passively consuming it without taking action. And you're sitting here like, what's wrong with this? Because open rates are lower. There's a lot of algorithms built in to protect the consumer. And we just have to understand that the reason this is happening is because of the environment around us. So if you're still listening and learning from people that are operating like it's 2018, then you're going to stay frustrated. And there's a lot of coaches out there that are not talking about what we are talking about today. So I think here's why the linear model kind of died. One, it's information overload, like thank you, COVID. There was such an influx and availability of the online space. You know, I've always run my business online, and I was set. I was like helping people that were scrambling then to shift to an online. And now people saw, dang, this is kind of nice. I have freedom and it's more accessible. And now there's more people doing what we're doing, and not just in our market, but other markets. So there's so much content and there's so much noise. And this statement used to be made that content is king. And it's actually kind of BS now, because AI can make content for you. It's really hard to tell in some cases. Some it's really obvious, but in a lot of cases, it's hard to tell even, did they write it or did they not? So content actually matters way less, unless there's some things happening in that content that really accelerate or I would say showcase you as a thought leader. You're saying your own thing that nobody else is saying, which is something I'm really trying to do in my content right now. But your potential client is bombarded with lead magnets and links, and they're just not starving for any information anymore, because they can go into ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini and ask for it. And so that leads to this kind of stimulus, this overproduction of content and ideas out there. So the second is this common theme that I've been talking about for years, is the trust recession, right? People have been burned. They bought programs that didn't deliver. They've worked with coaches who have overpromised and underdelivered. So they're skeptical and they're cautious, and they need way more proof before they're willing to invest at higher tickets. And the idea of just understanding how people are consuming information. Shift number 3 that's happening right now is it's the need that they have for minutes of touch points with you rather than just one-off touch points. And what I mean by that is, people used to be able to just get a couple emails because their inbox wasn't saturated, and that might be enough to propel them into action. Now we actually need hours, like they need to hear your voice. They need to see your face. They want to experience your teaching, watch you even coach someone. So I want you to think of what we're going to talk about this is how can I present my whole self in ways, which is why this podcast is such an important part. It's why for my strategy, it's why the limited series podcast is something that I put a lot of energy into. It's why my latest freebie is a YouTube tutorial, because I want them to have all of me so they can make a decision if they love my style and format. It's why I have workshops twice a month inside, or for you guys to come join. Is I want you to have minutes and hours of consuming content and learning from me, because that builds trust and credibility, and I become that person that when you are ready to invest, then you're like, I get her. She clearly knows what she's talking about, right? It elevates authority. Another reason the linear model is not working is generic just doesn't cut it. People don't want to feel like they're a part of this mass email sequence. They don't want to feel like they want to feel like you are speaking directly to them. They want to feel seen and they want to feel heard. They don't want automation. I don't know about you guys right now. It's like, can I just freaking talk to a human being? Like, I don't want a bot. And so I know that I'm craving that. And they want content that feels customized, like you're speaking to them directly. And this is when I teach activation phrases to my Best Damn Coach community, or when I taught this in the Premium Accelerator, light bulbs, clients having conversations because they truly feel seen and heard. And I think this is why we're here. And so these are the reasons the model has changed. And I want to help you be successful despite all of that, because it's an opportunity, right? Just because the environment shifts doesn't mean that we should be afraid or that we should throw up our hands and be like, crap, forget it. It just means, cool, let's lean it and understand what we can do instead. And so I'm going to call this kind of like the Hansel and Gretel metaphor. If you think about that story, I don't know if you call it a fairy tale, is like go through the entire idea, but you can kind of, I think, the fable, but the idea being is that when we follow breadcrumbs, they lead us back to something that's very obvious, or to, each one gives a hint and a clue of what step to take next. And that's really what I find to be so effective right now. And here's what I mean by that. Let me kind of paint you a picture. It's like, I don't know, a client finds you on Instagram, or let's say somebody books a sales call with you. What I like to go back and do is follow the breadcrumbs. So I like to go back and I go into my email marketing system, or I have my team. Hey, I have a sales call booked. Tell me about the breadcrumbs. Tell me how she found me. And what I'm able to see is like, oh, she attended a workshop. Sweet. How'd she get into that workshop? I only offered it to my email list. Oh, with only 10 days before that, she downloaded the limited series podcast. And, 9 days before that, she, also downloaded this tutorial. So what I can see is in the last 14 weeks, this person is basically trying to be a part of all of my content. And what that tells me is she is a very, very hot lead. She is somebody that is like just wanting to be showered in all of my content. That is very different than somebody who's on my email list that hasn't downloaded a free resource in over 6 months, 8 months, a year, and is just opening some occasional emails. And so what I think is really important to understand is that one of the mistakes that you could be making, so let's go into strategy here. I'm going to share like what to do instead. But one of the greatest mistakes that I think most online entrepreneurs and coaches, consultants are making is we're treating all the people like they're the same temperature. So I think of this as warmth levels. Not everyone who enters your world is necessarily the same. Some person might have found you because you were at a speaking event. Some person might have stumbled upon a post on the internet and followed you on Instagram. Somebody might have been a direct referral. Somebody might have attended a workshop. I would line those up as very different temperatures. One is super warm. The highest is probably the referral. When somebody says, oh my gosh, you got to work with Amanda, that person I know is at, and maybe books a sales call, is at the highest level of readiness, versus someone who's just been introduced to my Instagram content and has maybe seen a couple posts or floated around, that is probably the coolest temperature. So the hottest for me are workshop attendees, people that have been past clients, people that are referrals. And then I would also say people that are coming from speaking events are typically, for me, the hottest. The warm are podcast listeners, people that are on my email list, people who engage with my content like we talked in the DMs. And then the coolest are going to be people that are maybe just following you on Instagram. They've downloaded just one lead magnet or came from other, maybe it's another social media platform. And so the coldest, though, are going to be people that are like cold ads, paid advertisement. They are just, discovering your work, but they didn't even know you existed until an ad came in front of them. And so the reason I share this is I'm just helping your juices flow, your creative juices flow around this idea that if we start to think about the people who are following us in different temperatures, then we can start engaging with them differently. And this is the nonlinear model that I want you to think about. If you met somebody at church who's interested in your work last Sunday versus somebody who double tapped on a post, you have really different opportunities to nurture them. So that is step one in this strategy today, is the what to do instead, is start thinking about the people that interact with you in different temperature segments. That's going to be super effective. Okay, this leads me to the next part, is when we're able to see that temperature, then we can follow those breadcrumbs a little bit more differently and pay attention to the trail that they've left behind as they interact with you. Is now I'm asking myself, how can I stop just automating this process and start thinking about, hey, man, how could I do some sort of very high touch connection in order to better support where this person is at in their temperature level? What I mean by that is, like, instead of just sending a blanket email that's like, come into my program, no, somebody who maybe just followed you on Instagram, maybe you could reach out and welcome them, ask them what their current struggle is, and then send them to a free resource instead of just going like, book a call, right? We're trying to increase their temperature level. But somebody who emails you and says, hey, somebody just introduced me to your stuff, then that is going to look very different. Then maybe that person is very much a best fit to book a call. So this kind of concept that I'm offering you is become a personalized marketer instead of being a one-size-fits-all marketer. The way I do that is sometimes just warm emails. I see somebody maybe that just downloaded, or I see maybe in the last 10 days, I have 10 people who just downloaded the podcast, the limited series podcast. I actually segment those 10 people and say, hey, you downloaded my free resource or my podcast the last 10 days. I'm hosting this free training. Can I invite you to it? Right? Or somebody that has maybe shown up for the last 3 workshops you've hosted and they haven't become a client. Can you send a personal audio? Hey, I know you have attended my last 3 trainings. I'd love to know, where are you? Like, what's holding you? Like, what's your greatest struggle? What we're trying to do is create human conversation, because conversations lead to understanding what that person needs more, qualifying that client. And sometimes people just need to be invited. They need to feel seen and heard. And so I'm trying to really invite you in this episode to look for the nooks and the crannies and the opportunities that you have to serve at the most personalized level. That's step 2. Step 3 is you need a tracking system for this. So these conversations that you're having, these people that you're following, I want you to, at the most simple, like, put them into an Excel spreadsheet. You don't need a fancy CRM. Or if you already have a project management tool, I use monday.com as my CRM. We have a workflow, and I'm constantly looking for these breadcrumbs of people that are just obsessively interacting with my content and creating conversation with them. I missed this for so many years because I was like blanket approaching. I was like, I'm just going to send everybody through this automated sequence. Why isn't anybody buying? But when I started to treat people in my 3-day trainings differently and interact with them that were super highly engaged versus the people that just signed up and never attended, amazing things started to happen. So there are temperature levels that we need to be aware of. And step number 3, this is why, or step number 4 of this process is when we begin to do that, the sweet spot at the end of this is when we do have that trust building offer built in. So it's that front end way so that they can experience your magic. We're not just sending them straight to a high ticket 5K program. That is great for some people, and some people might be ready. But this is why I teach in the small buy offer how to build this the right way so that it's low barrier, high trust, high personalization and customization without burning you out, so that you have this little nugget of an offer that someone can come in and experience your magic and be like, oh my gosh, like Larissa is so amazing. I just want more of her. And that's why this linear model of like, come in, nurture sequence, 5K offer, does that still happen? Yes, it's usually from the hottest leads, but we're going to have to do more work in the warm and the cold through personal reach outs and connection so that we can really bridge that gap. And it is your responsibility then to make sure you have some sort of way that you're tracking and watching these leads so you can follow up and truly follow those breadcrumbs. My current kind of like system that is working is I'm bringing people in through that limited series podcast, just like you have some sort of free resource. And then I'm watching their interactions and inviting them to more personal opportunities, workshops, finding out what their needs are, figuring out there is so much customization happening in the background. So I can really develop relationships and connections with people and get to know where they're at. And this is the part that I just don't want you to miss out. Again, the world needs what you have to offer. Marketing is still a thing. The model has slightly shifted. And I really think that your responsibility is to make sure that you're thinking about it and asking how it can be done inside of your business. This is why my BDCers are having such success. This is why our live event coming up in April 13th and 14th, Best Damn Coach Live, is focused around innovation and this personal reach out. I'm going to be teaching more of that to all of our attendees. So if you don't have a ticket, definitely come join us. You can grab one at amanda-walker.com/BDC Live and use the code BDC Live 200 to get $200 off. So the difference here is this is about relationships and high touch and just nurturing in the most service-hearted way, but also making sure you are selling people into your programs. And so I just hope that today's episode really resonates with you. I'm excited to see what comes up for you. And if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at A Walk My Way. And if you have a coach friend, a colleague that's in this coach consultant space, please share this episode. I want more coaches understanding that they're not broken, that there's effective things happening. They just need to be in learning from the people that are thinking about it and understanding and not just throwing in the towel or teaching like the set it and forget it ways that worked in 2018 and 2020. I would love if you just copy and paste this link, put it in a text, put it in a group you're in, post it on your Instagram stories, tag me, let's have a conversation. I am just always so grateful for the shares. So until next week, go coach them up.